Hi there, and thank you for watching my video, Strategies for Dealing with Verbally Challenging Individuals. Verbally challenging individuals are those people that get what they want by the way of using passive-aggressive behavior, name-calling, or by yelling at you. Do you have a job that involves dealing with verbally challenging individuals? Such a job may be working in a grocery store, working in a call center, or working in a place like a mental health facility. Working in such a job can be frustrating, and it can lead to anger and anxiety in the workplace, not to mention in your personal life. This doesn't need to be the case. Certain situations can be avoided with a careful choice of words, tone, and body language. In my line of work as a psychiatric therapist at a mental health facility, I see this type of behavior on an almost daily basis. However, we are trained on how to deal with such individuals. In the next video that I've comprised, you will see scenes that illustrate how to deal with such individuals. I will illustrate the skills needed in order to talk to these verbal individuals, calm them down, and be able to see the meaning behind their behavior. The following scenarios take place in a fictional mental health facility called Goodhead Mental Health. In this video, you will see certain skills, not everything, that can be used against these kind of individuals. Although these take place in a specific setting, these can be generalized and used in other facilities. I just can't wait to go see this movie. This is probably going to be the best Barbie movie I've ever seen.
I know, she's a mermaid. Who thinks of that? That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. They must be smart people. Did you remember to close your door, by the way?
Yeah, of course. I'm not gonna miss this movie for anything. Also, I really haven't gotten out of here in a while, so I really need to get out of here. I'm expecting a really good night.
Yeah, it should be a good night. And your behavior's definitely been a lot better lately, so you deserve to leave.
Thanks.
Dude, where's Borat at? We gotta leave.
No, you're right. You guys wait here and I'll go check on everybody else, okay?
Okay, Chief.
Cool.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? Yeah.
Borat! Borat, what are you doing? We're leaving for the movie 10 minutes. Your room is still messy. You haven't cleaned up anything since we last talked.
What? So what? This is my room. This is the way I like it.
I don't care if that's how you like it. You have to clean your room or you're not going to the movie. And you need to do it right now.
I don't care what you think, man. Buzz off.
You notice anything wrong that Julius, the staff member, did in trying to get Borat, the upset patient, to comply with the rules of the facility? Julius tries to take too directive an approach to get Borat to comply. He uses a very authoritative voice when dealing with Borat. This will only make the patient upset, as you've noticed in the video. Julius doesn't only use an authoritative voice, but he uses body language to convey to Borat that he's not listening. Julius crosses his arms. Especially to an upset patient, this body language only shows that you're not listening. When someone's upset, the last thing that you want to convey is that you're not listening. All this authoritative behavior that Julius shows Borat only makes Borat more upset. Borat and Julius end up in a small power struggle instead of resolving the conflict. Let's watch this scenario again, starting on where Julius is interacting with Borat. Borat, we just talked about this. You haven't cleaned up anything since we last talked. We're leaving for the movie in 10 minutes. Your room is still messy.
So what? This is my room. This is the way I like it.
Borat, I don't know what you...
Really?
I have no control over this. This is the rules here. You either clean up your room or you stay here for the night. This is not going to be the first time you have to stay here. Do you really want to miss out on the movie again?
Man, you're just like my uncle. You just won't let me be. That's why I don't live with him anymore.
Listen, I understand you're frustrated by your situation, but there's nothing we can do about that right now. We have 10 minutes, and you can either clean up your room or you can stay here for the night.
Man, there's just so much work. You know, I'm just gonna give up on tonight, just like every other weekend.
Listen, I want you to go see the movie. You've been inside for too long. I don't want you to miss out on the movie again. How about we start with these clothes? I'll help you fold them. and then we can take it from there. I'm sure we'll be done in time to go see the movie.
All right. Let's get this done.
Do you notice any differences between the first and second scenario? In the second scenario, Julius shows that he cares more about what Borat says. He uses some better judgment in his choice of tone, word, and body language. This prevents Borat from possibly getting more verbally aggressive and possibly even physically aggressive. Let's review some of the better strategies that Julius used in order not to get himself in the way of harm. Strategy 1. Julius avoids a power struggle by not reinforcing Borat's behavior. Julius does this by the use of redirection. There are a few different ways to redirect someone's behavior. Offer them food, ask them questions about what's going on. However, Julius does this by changing the topic. When Borat starts talking about how he can't live with his uncle, Julius starts talking about possibly missing the movie if Borat doesn't clean his room. This is an example of redirection. Strategy 2. Julius calms Borat down by using empathy. Julius does this in different ways. The first way that Julius does this is by using a friendlier, non-authoritative tone to express concern in what Borat is saying. The second way Julius does this has to do with body language. Julius keeps his arms open and palms facing towards Borat. In a state of high anxiety, frustration, and anger, an agitated person may enter a fight or flight response where adrenaline levels are high. In the heat of the moment, this response may seem friendly or welcoming by the other person. This may make a world of difference. Julius does this in the second scenario where when he talks to Borat, he keeps his arms and palms facing towards Borat the whole time. The third way that Julius shows empathy is using physical actions. When Borat says that he's going to give up because there's too much work to do, Julius actually enters the room and begins folding clothes on the floor. As stated earlier, these strategies are general enough that they can be used in any scenario. A good way to master these strategies is to practice. The best way to practice without actually being involved in the situation with a verbally challenging individual is to think of scenarios that might come up in those situations and think of the responses that you may say to the person. There are two ways you can do this. You can role play with a friend, have one as a verbally challenging individual, and have you respond to that person. Another way to practice is to think of the responses you might say to the person and write it down. Try to possibly memorize those responses as best you can, and then repeat them in front of a mirror. This is a good method because you'll remember these responses automatically, and when you actually are dealing with a verbally challenging individual, you won't get carried away in the heat of the moment and actually say something that might make the person even more upset.
Guys, let's go to the movie. We're late.
Sweet, let's go, man.
Come on.
Let's explore another tool that is common when people who pose a verbal challenge: passive-aggressive behavior. I'll define what passive-aggressive behavior is exactly later on, but what you should know for now is that sarcasm is the main way to use passive-aggressive behavior. Now, sarcasm, it could seem like something harmless to many people because it's so widespread and so casually used in conversation. But really, sarcasm can be used as a defense mechanism to what you really mean. Let's just see how widespread sarcasm is in Goodhead Mental Health Facility.
Yeah, and then Barbie turned to a real girl back from a mermaid, and that ended the movie. So it was a good movie. There was a standing ovation at the end of the movie as everybody was leaving, and it was pretty much my weekend. It was pretty good.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Norman. Let's see. Borat, how was your week? Borat.
It was just great.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Yep, I just love this place so much. How can my weekend possibly be bad?
Oh, I don't know. What are you doing?
I'm
We're
just
in the
gonna
middle of
go
the road.
enjoy the rest of my wonderful weekend.
Notice how staff member Julius conducted his conversation with the patient Borat during the group. When Borat started using passive-aggressive behavior in order to avoid the question that Julius was posing to him, Julius decided to use sarcasm to answer Borat's sarcasm. Now, unfortunately, that conversation went nowhere. Do you think that Julius could have changed the conversation to be more productive, to find out really what's bugging Borat? Let's take a look at this scenario again.
Yeah, and then Barbie turned to a real girl from a mermaid, and that was the end of the movie. It was actually pretty good. There was a standing ovation at the end as we were leaving the theater, and that was my weekend. It's a pretty good weekend.
Cool.
Great.
Cool.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing, Norman. Let's see. Borat, how was your weekend? Borat,
What? It was just great.
really? It looks to me like you're trying to avoid saying what you really want to say.
Wow, seriously?
Listen, no one's here to judge you. You can say whatever you want here. We're all here for different reasons.
Oh, this sounds like my therapy session. I just feel so free here.
Listen, you could avoid saying what you really want to, but this is just a place to be able to talk. This is nothing like therapy sessions.
No
We're all
judgment,
here
man.
for different
No
reasons.
judgment.
Okay, fine. It's actually pretty rough if you can't tell already. Last week I had a session with my therapist, and he actually told me I'd be here for a while.
Can you notice the difference between the first encounter and the second encounter between Julius, the staff member, and the upset patient Borat? Let's review some of the differences between the first encounter and the second encounter. The second encounter, Julius uses some skills in order to combat Borat's passive-aggressive behavior. Strategy 1. Julius first looks for the signs of passive-aggressive behavior. In order to find out the signs of passive-aggressive behavior, we need to go a little bit into the definition of what passive-aggressive behavior is. Passive-aggressive behavior can be defined through ignoring, can be defined through inappropriate tone and word selection, it can be defined through arm crossing, eye rolling, it could be many other things, especially sarcasm, but those are just the main points. Strategy 2. Once Julius notices that Borat is using passive-aggressive behavior, Julius follows 3 simple steps. Julius ignores Borat's sarcasm. Then, Julius reorients Borat into reality. He specifically does this by saying, I understand that you're not being serious right now, but we're in group. We're in a place that is comfortable and everybody can talk. Thank you guys for sharing. I think we had a pretty productive group session. Yeah, have a good week.
Cool. Thanks, Doc. Later.
No problem.
Peace out.
Bort, can you stay for a minute? Thanks.
All right.
Listen, I noticed that you maybe had something on your mind. Do you want to maybe talk about it a little bit?
No, not today.
Not today. All right. Well, have a good week. After the reorientation to reality, you must also isolate the person, remove the cheerleaders, and ask them to explain their behavior. Julius does this by waiting until everybody in the group leaves, and then asking Bort to stay behind, and asking him if he's comfortable talking about what's really bothering him. Removing the audience does this main thing. It puts less pressure on the upset person. When the upset person knows somebody's looking, they might want to make a bigger scene. Strategy 3, and this is something that you should remember for most strategies that you use when dealing with verbally challenging individuals, is that all behavior has meaning behind it. You need to remember this, and you need to keep a clear head as you're talking to somebody who's verbally challenging. Passive-aggressive behavior, especially sarcasm, is so widespread and is so often used in casual conversation that it would be impractical to list every single response that you may encounter when someone uses passive-aggressive behavior. The best way to deal with passive-aggressive behavior is to use the skills that you learned here and practice them. The best way to do this is to think of scenarios that may come up in your job or even in your personal life. Think of the responses that you may use in those scenarios and write them down. After you write those down, you have two strategies that you can use. You can use role-playing, where you practice those scenarios with your friend being the verbally challenging individual and you be the responder. You can also just practice in front of a mirror. This is a good method because you will memorize these responses, and when it comes down to actually talking to verbally challenging individuals, you will say these responses automatically, and you won't have to be worried about possibly getting carried away, taking something personal, getting upset at the person, and then saying something that you end up regretting. This brings us to the conclusion of the video. Remember, everybody's human and everybody performs different actions and says different words. So using the skills learned in this video might not necessarily work efficiently on everybody that you talk to. The best way to make sure these skills work is to practice, practice, and practice. This will make sure that you are proficient in dealing with verbally challenging individuals. Thank you for watching the video, and good luck out there.
Dana, I was the extra. Peace out.
It's a Figure Man. I was Julius the Stefan Day.
Woo!
Israel.
Norman.
Brian Ivanov. I am Borat.